Alright, we'd like to apologize for video. We didn't pull one out this week or last weekend. We took a little camping trip down to Florida. Met up with some old buddies or whatever. That was good times and some stories. But what we'd like to talk about is, if you watched our last video, you saw us trying to beat the transmission and the dry shaft apart. Now, what we want to talk about is maintenance, kind of a maintenance type deal that you need to keep your stuff clean and lubed. Like, especially here in South Georgia, North Florida, where it's a lot of sand in the mud, and you play around in a lot of water, and you're always going submerged deep in the water. So if you look down here, you'll see that the dry shaft, it has a grease fitting on it. And what that does is goes in and it greases this part and that part, you know, the actual output of so that it can slide back and forth within the twisting of the frame. But it also allows it to come apart easy. Because if you watch the last video, we probably a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes of us trying to beat that apart because it was just rusted together. And we end up spraying penetrating oil, WD-40, a couple other things down in there just to get it to break free. It's quite the pain in the butt to get apart. And even if you watched in the video, these right here are non-greasable, so it's just something you'll have to deal with. But even these, it shows you where they got rusted and stuck on there. And we're going to do another part of this video to where we tear the rear end out of the Honda, and I'll show you even more where people don't take care of their stuff. And yes, these are used parts. We're getting them off the internet and off of Facebook, and we know they're used parts. But I can't stress enough to make sure you clean your stuff, lube your stuff, and take care of it. Like the rear end out of the Honda we're about to show you, it is, it's probably trash. We're wanting to rebuild it and then turn around and sell it, but we're afraid that once we tear into it, it ain't going to be rebuildable because it's just that far gone. And so, highly stressed, take care of your stuff. After each ride, you should be greasing, taking a grease gun and squirting grease in everything you have to push the water out. I wish I had a way to show you. I don't have a grease gun, but I wish I had a way to show you that when you squeeze it in and you watch for the water to come out, and then new lube comes out, new grease. When you see that, it's pretty good. You know that you squirted it, you got the water out of it. Did you probably get the sand out of it? Probably not if sand got in there, but you know when you drop it down in these mud holes here in South Georgia, it's full of sand. It's just, you'll probably never find a mud hole that doesn't have sand in it. And it's killer on bearings. So that's just our little quick tip. This will be a little quick tip kind of video that'll pop up on the internet tonight, hopefully. And then we're going to clear off here and move over to the work table, and we're going to start tearing the other part, tear the other rear end apart from the Honda. So we'll see you. Alright, we're kind of off camera right now. I don't know if you can see us, just as long as you can hear us. This is the Honda diff we're talking about, and hopefully you can see down in here where we're talking about people not taking care of their stuff, is that this, obviously the seal had blown out and it got in there and like, it's rusted. And we're hoping if we tear this apart, we'll be able to rebuild it. And see if I can get you a good close-up here. We'll come over to this camera. Just a little bit more light. But you see that in there, how the seal, you can actually see the bearings in there. And even on this side, you can see where the shaft, like so much water in it. And then right here, this gunk, sand. That's pretty much sand and grease. So we'll let Kyle buzz this thing apart. And then see what we got on the inside. Right. So, you think we can get it apart now?
Maybe.
You gotta get the hammer over there, the orange one. I don't have a diagram for this, so we're just tearing into it. Let's see what we can get. That? Another different pattern. Yeah, see, it's a bit off. Other bearings are falling apart in there already. No, this is the, see, just the rubber seal that's supposed to keep the dirt, keep everything out of it. Well, they work as long as you take care of the stuff, and then after so many miles or hours,
you need to put a new one?
Yeah, you're going to have to tear them down and redo them. They don't last forever, and that's where you get these Honda diffs. Everybody's always asking for them when somebody pops up on the internet talking about that they're selling their Honda, they're taking parts for their Honda, and people are like, oh, I need a rear diff, I need the front hubs. Yeah, I know this is not the right tool for the job.
But we don't have it.
Ah, there we go. Wow. Check that out, guys. When we talk about taking care of your stuff, watch this.
Is that dirt?
That is pure dirt. Somebody rode this thing until it just completely dried out. That is crazy. We've got to try to get that ring out of it. That's a big nut right there. We've got to try to get that out. That is crazy.
What is this?
That's the, well, when you have the seal in here, it's supposed to, this spring goes in it and draws it tight against whatever it's trying to seal, like the dry shaft. The dry shaft that goes in there, the spring would clamp that seal against the dry shaft to help keep dirt out of it. Now we gotta get this. Huh?
You smacked it back in.
I'm trying to figure out what would hold it in there.
Maybe this comes out.
Oh, it turns now. Didn't turn before.
Works between.
I guess we got all the dirt knocked out of it. I think you might be right. Might have to Google the old internet and find out. Yeah, all you're doing is just twisting it back through. Alright guys, we're gonna have to jump on the internet and figure out how to take this apart. See if I can't get a diagram. It feels like they're, I mean, Luca might be right. This piece might have to come out before we can,
Take this out?
yeah. But it seems like it should just,
Come right out?
I was hoping it would come right out.
Maybe something's wrong with them.
Well, something is holding it on. What do you mean, maybe? Got one more.
What?
That didn't work.
It's like stuck together.
Alright, we'll be back right in a minute. Alright, from what we have figured out is that this should pop out with the ring gear. And we're going to go back to the saying that the other side of this shaft is rusted in the bearing and it just won't come out. So, trusty old socket and a hammer. Try to catch it. Ready? Alright, check that out. Here, let me go.
All that sand.
Hold on, let me grab it. We'll get you down here on the floor. That is what just fell out of that. That is actual dirt. Somebody ran this diff dry, full of dirt. So, yeah, that's crazy. Got the old flag dirty. We'll have to shake that thing off here in a little bit. We'll put you back up here on the bench. Get you situated.
Parallel to that. It's just,
So yes, see what we're talking about?
it's a rock.
That might be chunks of metal, but
Oh, it's sand?
sand sitting in that bottom of that. I mean, this is coming out of a 2004 Honda 400. So that's how nasty that stuff is in there. There's supposed to be a shim washer in here somewhere. I guarantee you that thing ain't no good if it was still in there. But that's where this piece was stuck on the bearing. Yeah, I don't think this is rebuildable. Those got some good knife edges on them. The ring gear looks good. Nice and square tees on it. But that pinion gear, I'll have to get on the internet. But there's no bearing in that at all. Even the bearing that sits in here. Yeah, so, what do you think, Kyle?
Messy.
Think it's rebuildable?
Probably gonna take more than what we can sell.
Maybe not.
It'll cost more than what we can sell.
Well, the rebuild kit, if it's rebuildable, is not that much. It's just getting it cleaned up to rebuild. And like I said, this goes back to my theory of always making sure your stuff's good. That bearing won't even turn. Of course, I just did beat it with a hammer, but well, guys, girls, gals, that's the inside. I mean, and then again, that actual ring gear, you can slap a bearing on that ring gear. I mean, you can tell it's still square. Teeth are still square. But you can look down in there, you can see the knife edge where it's wore them out. See where they're at a point on the edges? See the edges, points? They should be flat on top like this.
Oh, now you can see it from that one.
Well, we have a diff case. That's probably still good if you knocked all the bearings out of it.
It's just sand and dust.
That's just pure dirt. And I'm stepping in it on the floor. That's pretty crazy. Alright, we're going to check out of here. We're going to shut off the cameras and then come back out front. And we'll talk about what we did today and tell you what our next episode will be about. Alright. Well, today we were talking about making sure you service your stuff and make sure that you try to keep it clean so it lasts. And boy, that rear diff was ugly. So, our next episode, we'll be putting this diff in here and putting the transmission in. So, to go ahead and start making this four-wheel drive. If the diff and transmission goes in quick within that same episode, we'll rip these arms off, or these struts, and put the four-wheel drive struts on it, and put the axles in. We have pretty much everything to make this four-wheel drive, minus probably a couple little parts here and there. But that's going to be our next episode. What do you think of today?
Service and stuff that can last for it.
So what did you think about that? Well, here, let me show you something real quick. Stay here. This is out of the yard. We just had electricity put into the garage. And this is dirt right out of the yard. This is the same thing that just came out of the rear end. That just came out of the rear end of that right there. Complete same. safety tip, always wear goggles. So yeah, there you have it. We, gang, that diff was ugly. You'll see it. So, that's going to be it. We're going to get this video edited, we're going to get it up on the internet.